All right. Good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing on this beautiful Saturday morning? As you guys can see, I am not in my Puerto Rico studio. I am sitting outside today. I am traveling at the moment. I am actually in beautiful Montana. I'm in Bozeman, Montana. I'm sitting outside a coffee shop, so I have a hopefully a good connection for you guys today. It's good to see everybody here. I see you guys popping in. So a little bit different climate here in Montana than I'm used to in Puerto Rico. It actually snowed on me yesterday here in Montana, so I enjoy the snow when I don't have to live in it. So I enjoyed it yesterday. But outside right now, it's 9 a.m. here in Montana time on Saturday, and it is like 40 degrees. So I'm bundled up. Does anybody feel sorry for me as I'm sitting outside? No, don't feel sorry for me. I'm enjoying it. Well, I have a special guest with me today. Oh, some of you are asking, what are you doing in Montana? I see Michael from Oklahoma here. Welcome, Michael. Good to see you. So I'm actually so we are in producing a TV series, and we're shooting a portion of the series right now, currently here in Montana. So we'll be up here for another week or so. Myself and the team are here. So we are enjoying the wildlife. We went to Yellowstone 2 days ago. It was 70 degrees out and it was beautiful. And then it snowed yesterday. So crazy weather up here. But yeah, so we went to Yellowstone and we drove into the north entrance. If anybody's been up to Yellowstone, it's a beautiful park. I highly recommend it, those of you who have never done it. But we just went for a drive for a few hours in the park. And just to see the wildlife, we saw the wild buffalo, elk, antelope running around. We actually ran into 5 bears. We like literally on the side of the road. I'm going to be posting some videos of that. But yeah, bears are out of their dens, wandering around. We saw a mama bear with 2 cubs, and so yeah, so we're enjoying the wildlife, the weather here in Montana. But enough of me. Enough about that. Oh, my name's Jeremy, by the way. Those of you who don't know, I'm with Made Management, and I have a guest with me today. And if you are here on the stream, feel free to ask questions in the chat. We'll get to those questions here. I see a lot of people are joining us now, so feel free to ask questions as we're talking and chatting, and we'll try to get to those questions, as many as possible. But let me introduce my guests. I have the one and only Mr. Aaron Sachs with me here today, and he is joining me. Where are you joining us from today?
Good morning, everybody. I'm joining you guys from Los Angeles. So it is just a little bit after 8 a.m. So little early for a Saturday, but got the coffee ready and looking forward to chatting with you guys today. Yeah.
He is caffeinated and ready to go. So, well, thank you for joining us so early on a Saturday morning. We appreciate it. What a great way to start a Saturday, right?
Absolutely.
We get a chat.
Right. So, yeah. We have our represent our LA teams, Chargers and Rams. So
yep. Yeah. So
football can't come soon enough.
and no hate versus with each other. We're fans of each other's teams. I root for the Chargers whenever the Rams aren't doing well, but I don't root for the Chargers when they're playing the Rams. That's the only time I won't root for them.
Otherwise, yeah, big fan of you guys too.
I've been to some Chargers games before they moved to LA. Those of you who don't know, they moved to LA a few years ago, but they were originally from San Diego. And well, were they originally from San Diego?
Yeah. That's because I grew up in San Diego, so they've been my team since I was a little kid. So yeah.
Oh, nice, very good. I was in San Diego, kind of one of their final games, and I was enjoying the game, and I think they were playing Pittsburgh, or I forget what game that was. That was years ago, right before they moved. Mm-hmm. And every time they would score, I would jump up, and the crowd would go wild, and I'd be like, yes, let's go LA Chargers. And all these people sitting around me were not happy because they were not happy that they were moving from San Diego to LA. I had to kind of rub it in a little bit. I was excited that they were actually moving to LA. So
Yeah.
well, let's get started here. Let's talk some industry insight. We're going to pick your brain today. We're going to learn all the great knowledge of what's happening in the industry, and we're going to solve all the world's problems while we're on this live stream today. That's the goal.
Sounds good.
Michael says that his girlfriend lives in Missoula, Montana. Nice. Actually, Michael, that's where we're going to be doing some of our production is up in Missoula. We're headed up there in a couple days. We just are taking a little side route up here, visiting Bozeman and Yellowstone. So yeah, definitely. That's awesome. Love Montana. So Aaron, tell me, who do you work with and what is it that you do within the industry?
So yeah, hey guys, again, Aaron here. So I work with MGMT Artists in LA. I've been with this company now for a little over 2 years. Company's been around for over 10, and we have great offices at LA Center Studios on the lot, which is a really cool work environment. They're currently shooting the show The Lincoln Lawyer on Netflix there, and it was really cool. I went into the office. The new normal is kind of like hybrid, work from home from office. So I usually am like work from home like Monday, Friday, and try to get to the office middle of the week. And I went in on Wednesday, and I have my 2 dogs, and there's actually a dog park on the lot. And we went to go out, and they had the entire area was fully like roped off with production. And I took some video. I'll have to send it to you, Jared, so you can share with everybody. But the entire outside area looked like a war zone with all these old classic cars that were just like rusted out and like looked like kind of like a bomb or something had gone off. And so it was just kind of cool. I'm like, oh shoot, like even been doing this forever, to go to work and see this going on and have the whole big it was like some huge movie production. They had they always have the code names up, so it was called Dakota, but I'll have to do some digging to see what it really was. But so yeah, so that's somewhat regular day at the office, which is kind of cool. And we went to management. So good. Okay. Talent management company. We represent actors and actresses for TV, film, and commercial. Also, we work with a lot of the modeling agencies as well for when their talent wants to kind of cross over. And we also, send our clients to them for high fashion, print, e-com, and stuff like that. But the main day-to-day is representing our actors for TV, film, and commercial, and work with people, obviously in LA, all over the US, and also quite a few foreign clients as well in Canada, have some in the UK, have some in Australia as well. And yeah, we work, hand in hand with agents, TV and film, commercial, voiceover, music, publicists, etc., all that kind of stuff. So that's a little bit about the basics for us. Yeah.
Nice. Well, every week I have new guests on, and I have different people that are involved in the industry. Both Aaron and I are both in management, and so let me ask you this question, Aaron: which is better, a manager or an agent?
There's no better.
That's a loaded question because we're both managers. So
I skew towards us managers being better. Overall, in a way, as far as like being like more on your, day to day, more of like kind of like a partner versus just like that's involved with pretty much the overall umbrella over your career. Everything from your materials, suggesting acting coaches, classes, setting you up for meetings with all the different agents, with publicists, with entertainment attorneys, helping out with your branding, some social media stuff, really kind of everything and anything, and just kind of compiling as much information as we can to help you get you as many opportunities as we can in the different arenas that you're interested in your career. And agents, it's like they're great, and they serve a very specific purpose, and their sole purpose in life is to get you auditions, submit you a pitch, you get you auditions, and run everything else through your manager. A big part of our day, we do submit and pitch our clients and get auditions for you guys, but there's everything else that goes, along with it as well. There has been a trend, and I'm sure Jeremy knows as well. There's been a lot of, agents the past 5-6 years that have switched over to the management side of things and are essentially just agents with a manager title. And it's kind of blurred some of the, lines and made it a little bit more of a gray area as far as the clear-cut difference between agents and managers. But myself, I only was on the agency side when I was right out of college for a few years, but I've been on the management side ever since. And I'm old now. I just turned 40 in March. So, I've been doing it for a long time, and I am much more of the traditional managerial manager in the sense of like what it has been for a long time. And obviously as the industry changes, things adjust and adapt and whatnot like that. But I'd like to think of myself as kind of a purist when it comes to more of the manager stuff, and I don't have 100+ clients, I like to be able to, have a very good, open, communicated relationship with my clients and be able to like have the time to spend with everybody. So that's why, I keep my roster to around like 30, 35 people or so. I think I have just under 30 right now, but yeah.
So the biggest difference usually between managers and agents, obviously both can submit clients on projects and can work with clients. But one of the things, obviously, like the big agencies, they'll have thousands of clients, on their list. Whereas managers typically have a smaller roster because they're working a little more closely with their clients, making sure that they get their material in and correct, and like you said, their social media sites and just being able to manage kind of the day-to-day activity that's happening with their clients. So well, if some of you hear kind of a loud noise, horn going off, just a side note here, I just want to give you guys a quick update. There's a big truck sitting in front of me, and there's a big dog in it. It looks like a German Shepherd, and he keeps setting off the car alarm. So I apologize if you hear that. That's the downside of not being in my studio and sitting outside is you have to deal with dogs and trucks. So so Aaron, so you've been in the business for how long now, total, like career-wise?
It's pretty much since I got out of school, so probably about like 18 years now, I guess, something like that.
Okay, so been doing it for 18 years, obviously still love it, and enjoy being in the middle of a set when you're going to work sometimes.
Yeah, not bad, right?
That's awesome. That story of you being on set as you walk in kind of reminds me. I was living in New York years ago when they were filming it was the Batman series. I want to say it was the one where they had the street riots. I forget which episode, which series it was, but I was walking my dog out one morning. It was probably early in the morning, like 1 a.m. I went to take her out one last time for the day, and I was on Wall Street. So my apartment at the time was at 95 Wall Street in New York, and they had the entire Wall Street was blocked off, and the Batmobile was literally sitting right in front of my building. Crazy. And of course, being in the industry, you see you're involved in productions and you see things all the time, but like, when is there ever the Batmobile sitting in front of your space?
Yeah.
So I was a fanboy, for a while. I kind of slowly walked my dog around. I was allowed in because of, I was a resident. So everybody was blocked off except for me and of course all the cast and the Batmobile. So yeah.
That's so cool.
So definitely have pictures of that sitting in front of my. I was tempted to actually. There was nobody there. I was tempted to see if it was unlocked and jump in, but I thought maybe I didn't want to break any laws. So, so Aaron, obviously we have different people that join us on this stream. We have some experienced actors. We have some aspiring actors. I see somebody just shouted out that they're tuning in from Australia. Welcome all of you in Aussie world. I know that you guys are probably in the afternoon enjoying your holiday weekend, but
it's Sunday. Happy Easter for you guys out there in Australia.
Definitely happy Easter, everyone. But But as far as actors that are getting involved in the industry, uh, let's talk a little bit, since we're talking about the differences between agents and managers. I know obviously a lot of aspiring actors, like their goal is to get signed for representation. Should they be looking for an agent only, or should they also be reaching out to managers as well? What would you recommend?
Yeah, I think you should be, reaching out to both at the same time, and it's just such a subjective, industry as to who's going to respond to what. Sometimes, if you don't have that much experience, but you have a certain look that person's wanting to add to their roster, that could be your golden ticket in. Otherwise, there's no right order as far as getting an agent or a manager first. I do feel like a lot of people, at least in the U.S., well, most people are here in the U.S., but in the L.A. and New York markets, are trying to target managers before agents, just because managers can, once you have a manager, they can help try to set up your agency meetings, whether it's commercial, TV, film, et cetera, et cetera. But again, there's clients that I meet with that already have agents in place, and I'm totally cool with that. It's one less thing we have to do and put onto our plate. So, and there's no right or wrong as far as like adding one before the other kind of a thing. And if you're trying to build your team, it's like it doesn't, there's no specifics as to what has to come first. And both your agent or manager, whoever you have first, when you let them know you're wanting to add the other part to the team, it's good to have that conversation with your rep, for sure, because sometimes and you guys have to be proactive, and you're your biggest advocate, and be putting yourself out there. But let your rep know at least, hey, I've reached out to these people, because there's a good chance they know them, and they can maybe help get that meeting. So coming from a rep versus just an unsolicited actor, is going to usually help your chances significantly, with getting a meeting and stuff like that. And then also too, there's sometimes you want to make sure you're not walking your rep into a situation where occasionally, as Jeremy can I'm sure attest, there's certain agents that I don't necessarily want to do business with, and vice versa. I'm sure that they don't want to do business with certain managers or companies. And most of the time we try to put the petty shit, aside, and just keep it about the business. But there are some, it's good to do a little checks and balances sometimes, just because you don't want to end up getting in a situation that your current person, is like, oof, yeah, that's not going to work for me, kind of a thing. And then you have a situation to deal with, kind of. Yeah. So.
Right. And those are like kind of rare occasions,
It is.
obviously.
Yeah, those are rare, but it's just, it's good etiquette wise, and also just communication. It's like that's one of the most important ground, day one basic things, is just being able to communicate, with your reps about everything and anything. And again, the manager is going to be more involved on that day to day, and be able to have more in-depth conversations with you, because agents, they have way more volume, and are busy trying to get auditions and stuff like that. But you should, obviously, if it's something important, for sure, let your agents, know if you don't have a manager, and vice versa.
And I get new clients all the time where they don't have an agent yet, and I'm okay with that. I work with them, I try to develop them and make sure that they have good material, and then of course when it comes time, want to pair them up with good agents. And sometimes there's your clients, and the agents that are out there that you've worked with, and so sometimes when it's a good fit, right? And it's an easy conversation to have when it's time for your client and to get that extra representation, and be able to reach out to those agents and say, hey, I have a great client, and you have a good relationship with the agent. They're going to take that meeting, and they're going to meet your client, and they're going to kind of listen to what we say to them about this client. And sometimes I see talent, sometimes they go in and they have meetings, and maybe they're a little nervous, and then they don't quite perform as well as that they are, who they are as a person, because them as a client. And so that's where like Aaron and I can come in and say, I know they were a little nervous to meet you. They were real excited. This is their material. They're great. They respond to us quickly all the time when we reach out. There's good communication, and at the end of the day, that's what everybody wants. It's just easy people that are good to work with. So now, as far as new clients, Aaron, do you ever look for talent or bring on talent to your roster who maybe are brand new, like who've never had any experience at all in the industry? And if so, why would you consider them versus somebody who maybe has like a huge resume? What would those differences look like?
Yeah. Well, in our industry, there's always, exceptions to the rule, as far as, and everyone has their own sets of, rules and stuff as far as what they do. And, I think every agent and manager has at least a couple of people that are very developmental, that they, just think have whatever, it is, that X factor, kind of to give them a shot, whether it's they saw them, at a showcase acting, or saw some other materials, or again, like I said earlier, like it's just like a look, something where you're like, man, I could really sell this person. I hope they have, the ability behind it. And sometimes you got to just, try it out and see how it goes. And sometimes it works, sometimes it does not. But typically for us, we're at the end of the day, we're salesmen and saleswomen, and instead of selling cars, we sell, people. So you want, to have like, the best available what you have, and also for your skill set, what you're good at selling as well. So different agents and managers, may have, hey, I'm really good with like women, or ethnic, a specific ethnic group or whatever, and and it's like you kind of tend to go to your strengths. Everyone of course has a very diverse roster and stuff, but certain people, you just resonate with other clients in a certain way. But yeah, I think if it's between two people and somebody has a better resume and better reel, you're gonna go you're gonna go that way, just because you may even like the other person better. But at the end of the day, it's it is a business, and you need to have what's going to be able to help you get that person opportunities, and have them book jobs so everybody can make a living.
Right. And so as you bring on a new client and you're looking through their resume, what do you like to see on there? Like what do you hope for with, if it's so say I sent you an email and I said, hey Aaron, I want representation, and you said, okay, send me your resume, send me your reel, and I do that, and you're looking through my resume, what really stands out to you? Like what do you love seeing on a resume?
Well, for people that are just starting out, obviously you have to take into consideration the lack of credits and whatnot, but the training on there that shows you are currently taking class, that you've done different types of acting classes. Your special skills are things that can help stick out to reps. If you speak a foreign language, if you play a musical instrument, if you dance, sing, any of those specific sports, anything that helps give you something, an edge, or and a little extra, if something comes out that we see for a specific role, those things can help get reps attention and stuff like that. And then other than that, if you don't have projects that you've booked in a reel, some self-tape so people can see you act on camera, is a really good way to show people what you can do. And until you have booked projects and pull your scenes and stuff from it, there's developmental clients that I have that's what they have, and it's a really good self-tape, and I'd be like, okay, hey, this is something I feel comfortable with send to casting to show them like this is how they are, on camera, kind of a thing like that. So make sure your at home self-taping stuff is all dialed in. Backdrop, ring lights, your phone on a still tripod, and audio wise, if nothing echoey, whatnot like that. Just a lot of the basics, I'm sure Jeremy and Denise have told you guys about, but it's important. Little things do count for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And self-tapes, people talk a lot about self-tapes and what that is, but as an aspiring actor, I feel like you should always be practicing with self-tapes. It takes a minute to really dial it in and to really kind of get comfortable with it. And let me give you an example. Aaron, do you know Milton from AEFH?
Yeah, we share clients together. Yeah.
Yeah. So Milton, years ago, in fact, I was at an event with Milton, and we were at the showcase. We were watching talent, and he ended up seeing this boy. He was probably maybe 5 or 6 years old at this event that we were at, and he ended up signing this kid right away. He loved him. He good personality and a lot of charisma, and of course, as a 5 or 6 year old, they don't have a lot on their resume, right? They don't have, any experience. We don't expect a 5-year-old to have a huge resume, right? They're just starting out. So anyways, what Milton ended up doing is he had, so we were on the weekend, we were at this event. On Wednesday, an audition came through, and he was talking to mom from the event was on the weekend on Sunday. And so from Sunday to Wednesday, he was, talking to mom and saying, "Hey, I'm interested in working with you guys, and can you guys send me, some material?" And anyways, an audition popped up on Wednesday, and this particular kid would be perfect for it. It was exactly what they were looking for a TV commercial. Well, long story short, what had happened was Milton said, "Is there any possibility they need his self-tape by tomorrow, by Thursday?" It was like an immediate casting. And mom said, yeah. And it sent it in, and he booked his first commercial, and he was on set like the following week for a commercial. And that's, within like a 10-day period, there's this kid who was trying to get representation, performed at an event, and basically booked his first commercial. 10 days later, he was on set, which obviously that's a rare case. But here's the one thing that I know had happened, talking about the self-tapes. Mom had actually showed me a video during that event. She said, "I've been practicing with him to prepare for this showcase that he's doing. I've been practicing with self-tapes." So what she did is she went out and she got like a backdrop. She bought a backdrop on Amazon, like a nice gray background. And she bought some like little lighting to set up, and she bought a stand, and she wanted him to get used to, being in front of the camera and practicing his material while she was trying to get used to setting that up. Right. So she had done that a couple weeks prior to the event. And so because of that, she was completely prepared for this last minute opportunity. And I tell people, it takes time to get used to how to set up your camera, and to make sure your lighting looks good, and to make sure you sound good on camera, and to make sure that your background looks good. And so practice those things. Don't just think it just is going to happen. You get your first audition and now you practice, right? You should be practicing, like even today, if you want to set up your camera, those of you who are out there in different parts of the world, pull a script off of, go into Google and type in a monologue, and search and pull a monologue and practice. That's the best way that you're going to get good results. And then also you're going to have good material if you reach out to someone like Aaron and say, "Hey, here's my self-tape." Obviously you've prepared for that. So, practicing is key. Making sure that good sound quality. And that's the one thing that I'm sure, Aaron, you see this a lot. When a client submits an audition, you have an audition for them, and they submit the audition tape. When you watch that tape, are there times where you're kind of cringing a little bit, going, "Oh man, this is good," but
thankfully not cringing. I mean, you have seen some of those, but yeah, if you know your client well, and you know their work, and if it's a little off, or maybe they just misinterpreted the tone of the show or the role wrong or something. You want to be able to let them know and have them retape to really get their best foot forward and have a chance. But that's the thing about it. It's like everyone interprets scenes, and that's the thing with self tapes versus in person. In person, the old days, like they would give you a note, and in the room. With self tape, it's fully like how you can do a bunch of takes and cut it together, and what's great, but it's like it's a little bit of like your interpretation of the scene that's going on and whatnot. That's why I always tell clients, for whatever, if it's a TV show, make sure you watch a couple episodes of the show to get the the tone and the pace of that show and how the characters interact and stuff, because you want to be on point with how it is, and making a choice sometimes that's completely opposite of what is how the show is probably not going to work out for you too well. So
Yeah, so if they get an audition for a current TV show that's on air, it's great to do your homework and study
yeah,
and know how the feel of the show is overall. But sometimes,
absolutely, yeah,
auditions come through and they're for new projects that nobody's seen yet because they're
yeah,
creating that project currently. So as reps and as actors, like even myself, I don't know exactly what they're looking for, tone wise. But I do know, I try to read between the lines, and obviously as actors, that's all your job as well, to try to interpret that material, because you usually just get, a paragraph or two and a little description of what's happening, and basically it's like, okay, now go record that. so
yeah,
so as an actor, you're sitting there going, okay, you know, I wonder how this actor is supposed to be feeling. Like, what, how much energy am I supposed to give? Are they sad? Are they angry? Are they happy? Are they excited? And those are the types of things. So sometimes, like Aaron mentioned, where the tone's off, like, he read through the script and interpreted it to be maybe a little less dramatic or a little more subtle, and then the actor presents like a really dramatic piece, right? Or something that's just a little off. So you tell them, hey, let's redo this take and try to dial it
yeah,
in and give them advice on it and stuff. It also
yeah.
helps to research who the directors are, or who the people are involved, if that's listed on those castings as well, because you can sometimes watch material that they've produced in the past and get an idea of what they're trying to produce currently. Would you agree with that, Aaron? Is that something that?
Yeah, some specific, directors or producers or writers kind of tend to have a certain kind of style and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And not everybody does, but doing your research is important. Where's a way for people to find information about directors per se, or
Uh, I think for me, the best information, the wealth of information you can have is IMDb Pro, not just regular IMDb, but the IMDb Pro edition. Every single actor should have, no matter what stage of your career you're at. You should have your, obviously your own account, your own page, but it any single director, producer, writer, agency, management company, actor that's ever been, you know, that's ever happened, past, current, and even future productions that are like in development and stuff, you can find on there. I think it's like $20 a month. Amazon bought IMDb like a few years back, so you actually when it logs me out, you sign back in through your Amazon account or whatever. But yeah, I think it's like $20 a month or something, and I absolutely make it a necessity, like for every client of mine, to have. And you should want it. It's part of the investment in yourself and in this business, and it's so important to have that. Like that would be the best, one of the best things I would recommend for sure.
I just put the name of that on the screen. Those of you who are watching didn't quite catch it. So IMDb, you can do just there's a free account, but what Aaron's recommending, and I highly recommend as well, is to get the pro account. So just to pay for the monthly service, and that allows you to really kind of dive in. You can type in anything you want. You can type in your favorite show and even past shows, and kind of it shows you which the full cast of that show and who was in it and what episodes they were in, and yeah, so take time to create an account. Now, is that so with your clients, obviously you want them to be on there as well, like to
Oh
create
yeah,
an account.
absolutely. When I'm on the phone, talking with casting about client for auditions or whatever like that, they all have that up, and that's where they type in their name, and that's where they search you. And it's like, it's so, because that has all of your credits. You can add multiple pictures up there, you can add your reels, you can add, it's just like, it's such a great site, and everybody in the industry uses it. It's like an absolute like must for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And so one thing, obviously, use that site as a resource, but also use it as a tool to put yourself on there. And
Yeah.
and it's not like it's not going to be like a normal social media like an Instagram or a TikTok.
No.
I tell my clients, put professional pictures of you on there. So if you get some headshots done, you want to put those headshots up
Yeah.
there.
Or like stills that you have, from when you're shooting on set experience, kind of a thing like that. You can have, it doesn't have to just be headshots. You want your main picture to be probably more of a headshot, but this is the place also where they can show a little bit more. Like if you could have some editorial shots, you can have some other stuff, not, like something you would post on Instagram, you hanging out with friends on the weekend or something like that.
Right.
Like Jeremy said, make them be, industry, related kind of pics and stuff. But again, that's something for you to go on and research and check out, some of your favorite actors or friends of yours, and see what they have posted and kind of get an idea. And then, it's such a great resource, like Jeremy was saying. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so a couple of homework assignments for those of you who are watching today. Practice your self tapes and go on and create an IMDb Pro account if you don't have that yet.
Aside from that, aside from IMDb Pro, the other two other sites that are must-haves for all actors are Actors Access and Casting Networks. Every single professional actor has those accounts, and Actors Access is something that we link to our breakdowns, and that's what agents and managers use to submit you guys for every TV show and feature film that comes through. Casting Networks is going to be more on the commercial and print side, but also equally important to have that. So make those profiles. It's okay that you don't have a lot of stuff yet. You at least want to get ahead of it and have an active profile, upload some pictures to it, put your resume up on there, any clips you have. I mean, they have a ton of stuff. It's very self-explanatory. It can seem a little tedious because there's hundreds and hundreds of different special skills and things that you can put to click on there to have on there. And with that being said, don't click something if you've done it once. You don't have to be a 5-star pro at the different skills that they have on there, but make sure you can actually legitimately do it halfway decently, because that does come up. And if you say you can do something, people expect you can do it, and if then you can't, it's really a frustrating situation for everybody.
Right. So like Aaron mentioned, so those two sites that Aaron just mentioned, the Actors Access there, I know it takes a little bit of time to really kind of put all your information in there. And so go through it, take time with it. But when they ask you the skills, make sure you have like a little bit of training, and don't worry either. I know a lot of times I see people that on their resumes, it'll say, languages, and they'll say some Spanish. And I think to myself, well, what does that mean exactly when you say some Spanish? Because I speak some Spanish. I could order food. I could order tacos, enchiladas, margaritas all day long, right? And that's the extent of my some Spanish. But I think a lot of people are concerned because they're not like languagely, they're not fluent in, like, if they can hold conversation but they don't know every word. And I tell them, well, you speak mostly Spanish, right?
Yeah.
If you had a script for a commercial that was, a paragraph long, if you had a couple of days to practice that, do you think you could sound like Spanish? And they said, oh, well, yeah, of course. I speak Spanish all the time when I'm around my family, and when my grandmother speaks to me, I understand it. So I tell them, look, don't be afraid to put that on there.
Yeah.
Once you get into the casting roles are going to be different. They're not asking for a full feature movie all the time that you are fluent in Spanish. They might just be asking you to do a commercial in Spanish, which, a lot of people are able to do, even if they feel like their conversational Spanish isn't
Yeah.
perfect.
Tad and Jeremy are saying, when it comes to languages, if you're conversational, then you can put it down, which means you don't necessarily have to read and write it, but if you can speak it phonetically, if you can get away with being on camera, if you were watching a commercial, or if you were watching a TV show or a movie and you saw that person speaking a different language, you would feel like they were speaking that language normally, and it wasn't like weird or didn't sound, authentic. So if you can speak it conversationally, then you can put it down, I'd say.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as a side note, Aaron and I are not getting any endorsements by any of these websites we just mentioned. These are just tools for actors to have. We don't, all these sites do have a little bit of a fee involved for different upgrades and things. And those are all independent of them. We don't get any kickback
I
from
wish.
it would be nice, right?
Yeah, the people, all of those sites there, we're in the wrong business, Jared. They're
I know 20 years ago we made the wrong choice, didn't we? We should have created a site. Well, hindsight is 50-50, so or 2020. But yeah, no, they're good sites to have. And then all of our clients are on these sites. So as soon as we do receive a new client, we do tell them to get on these sites, and we need access to the site. In fact, I'm actually waiting on a client right now, and I understand it takes a while to get on these sites. And when I ask my client, hey, spend a little bit of time, go through it, put in all your skill sets and fill it out as much as possible. I understand I'm going to wait maybe a day or two. I have a client right now, I've been waiting a week. And so I have a little note. In fact, I'm going to reach out to them as soon as we're done and be like, hey, I know this takes a little time. I know you're busy, but I need you on this site, for me to be able to connect you so that I could start submitting you for auditions. And the skill sets, let's talk about that a little bit. I know we talked about languages, but like even what Aaron was saying, if you took a class, let's say a jiu-jitsu class, and you went one time and you decided it wasn't for you, don't put on there that you know jiu-jitsu. But if you've taken a couple of years of jiu-jitsu and maybe you haven't done it in a couple of years, but you know the basic techniques of stances and different things that they might ask for, you can put that down. And then of course each casting is going to be different. So a lot of on-set stuff they'll train anyways, and they want to see that you have the basics already. They don't want to teach somebody the basics, but they want to see that you're capable. So for example, I had a client that casting reached out to me and they said, does she know how to kick a soccer ball? And I looked, and she didn't have anything listed on there that said soccer, skill set of soccer. So I reached out to mom, and she was 12 years old. And I said, Mom, does she know how to kick a soccer ball? And they're not looking for a professional soccer athlete. They just wanted to see that somebody had the ability to look like they know what they're doing. And this was for a TV commercial, right? So, there's people that know how to throw a baseball, and there's people that have never thrown a baseball. If you watch the first pitch of a baseball game, and you have the special, a special guest come out on the mound, and they throw a first pitch. Some of those people have never played baseball in their life by watching that, right? And casting knows this also, right? So with skill sets, don't be afraid to put on there, some skills that maybe you're not feeling like you're 100% comfortable with, but if you have the ability to do it a little bit, that's fine. Like my mom made me take piano lessons when I was six and seven, I think, for 2 years. And I would not put I play piano on my resume. That is not something. So, Aaron, if you're looking for a good piano player for casting, I'm not that guy. Okay, it's just
Okay, okay.
I
I'm
could
with you on
I
that.
could sit down and play chopsticks. You know? But but that was a few years ago when I was 5 and 6. So that was like 20 years ago, maybe something. I forget how old I am, but yeah, it was a few years ago. But but yeah, but don't be afraid to put skills, on there that you've done in the past or you have some experience with. You're capable of playing the part, right? You're an actor, so can you play the part? Can you do you know how to throw a baseball? If you do, if you've played a couple of years of baseball, that's fine. If they're looking for a professional baseball player, they'll put that in the casting. So they'll be reaching out to their managers, right? So good. I love the information that we've been giving. We've been giving people a lot of homework. Take time, fill those sites out. They're important to have, especially if you're new to this industry. Don't feel like you're too new that you can't take the time to fill that out, because everybody has to start somewhere.
Absolutely.
And as you get more skills and as you get more training in different areas, you're able to add those to your accounts, as you do things. Now, what is one thing that you would tell your new clients that you want them to do? Like, as far as like training. So Aaron,
Yeah.
you have a new client. You're looking at their resume, you load them into the system, you start submitting them on castings. Are they done? Can they just sit back at home and wait for your
Oh,
phone call?
it's really, really important for you to always, be in class. I think it's also good, sometimes to change it up a little bit if you've been in a particular class for a long time. You know, uh, Try something else. If you've never done improv before, do an improv class. I think that's really valuable. And then also too, there's no right or wrong specific class or teacher, to be in or style. It really kind of comes down to what resonates best with you and your process. For acting, you want your classes, to be challenging, to push you, to be, you be able to learn from it as well. You don't want to be stagnant with it. And the good thing is a lot of the acting classes, you can audit a class, some for free, some they charge like, 20-30 bucks to audit a class, something like that. And I think that's a really good idea before you invest, $500, $1,000 for an intensive or a 6-week, 8-week course or whatever, whatever it is, to, be able to like watch and check that class out. And also too, most of these acting schools have websites as well that are very informational, and you can get an idea of what type of style of acting they teach and coach there. And again, you want to see what works best for you and your style. And also too, when you are starting out, like, be committed to it. Do the entire, if it's a 6-week thing or an 8-week thing, really dive into it. And you're paying for it, so you're investing in yourself, so really try to get as much of it from you can. And aside from just the classes, you know use that also to help build your network and your relationships with the other people in the class that you can collaborate with, that you can, hey, these are great people that could potentially be a reader for you. And you can even put it out there saying, hey, if anybody needs help with a cell tape, I'm happy to read for you. And it's like, that's a great way to build your, actor community and network and stuff like that. And yeah, that would be my advice on the classes and stuff. And it's imperative. It's a big part of it. Just like even professional athletes, their spring training for baseball before they start playing, and the mini camp, and off season programs for the NFL. It's like even the best of the best still continue to practice and fine tune their skills year round, even when you're not in the main season and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's funny how you make that analogy with sports, but it's funny how people look at sports athletes and they know that the sports athletes are working really hard
Yeah.
daily, right? With training and things like that. But they don't think of actors as doing that. But all great actors are still training, and they have coaches, and they work material, before movies, and they're doing everything they need to do. And the funny thing to me is like people don't really associate that much with acting, but yet it's there, it's happening, but yet they're both getting paid great amounts of money, right? So these pro athletes are getting paid great amounts of money, and that's why they're doing it. And these actors are getting paid great amounts of money. These lead actors and these A-list celebrities, and they're doing the exact same thing. But that side of the acting world isn't really like shown to the world. Like we can see pro athletes, they'll post pictures at the gym and in their workouts and training and things like that. But actors don't necessarily post pictures working with their acting coaches, so it's there, but it's just not seen as relevant. But so it's funny, every single person I talk to that's in the industry, they always mention improv, right? They always say, take an improv class. Why do you think that is? What do you think is so special about an improv class?
It's just a really good way to, I think, for people to, be creative, think on your feet, be able to adjust and adapt to changes. Sometimes you'll be on set and they'll do a scene and the director or producers, writer included, will be like, you know what, that didn't play out as how we envisioned, let's make some changes. And they'll do a rewrite right then and there. And you're going to be expected to, get those notes, change your lines up, change maybe some of your blocking and where you are on set, and be able to work with it. Or sometimes if you're in the middle of a scene and you're just kind of going with an actor, they'll let you guys kind of riff a little bit and improv. And they're like, oh shit, that was really good. That was something that we hadn't had on the page, but your little addition to it, or adjustment was great. I would suggest not going off page, very significantly, or doing something action wise that's not really there when you're starting out as much, kind of a thing. But also, it's just about the versatility of improv. Really helps, in so many ways, with drama, comedy, etc. And a couple of the best in LA anyway, improv schools are UCB and the Groundlings are the two of my favorites. And they're both really great programs, and I've had massive celebrities and stars come from those schools and whatnot. And again, just another community and group of people that you can help continue to build your network and relationships with as well.
And tell us the names of those again, just in case people were trying to write them down.
Oh yeah, So Jared's UCB, like umbrella, cat, boy, and then the Groundlings are the two big LA improv schools that I think are the two best in my opinion. Yeah.
And those of you who are, obviously maybe not sitting in LA, I see some people are from Germany on here and Australia and different parts. There's definitely improv all over the world. There's improv classes.
You might even for the people not in LA, I think they might have some Zoom classes. I would look into that as well.
Yeah, with obviously post-COVID world, a lot of the classes and acting schools and stuff have online sessions, which are great. Obviously, in person is always nice, but Zoom is a definitely good alternative. Now, I know we're wrapping up here real quickly, but we're getting to the end of our time. I'm sure Aaron has a full day ahead of him, so we don't want to waste his day. But as far as improv, some people think of improv as maybe comedy or like that sort of thing, and it's like what Aaron mentioned. It's not necessarily. It's just we don't want you to necessarily be a comedian if that's not what your genre is as an actor. It's the skill sets to learn how to react without scripts. And that's one thing. So actors have scripts, and sometimes they get just so dialed into these scripts. and they get so focused on that. But when you're on set, like Aaron mentioned, the director might want to change things up a little bit, and then how would you feel if the director said, okay, I want a little bit of a different tone with this, or let's maybe change the scene up a little. And so having that improv skill to be able to react to your fellow actors and kind of a different environment, it might feel uncomfortable. I would imagine. I've never taken an improv class, but I'm thinking in my mind, going in for your first time, your first improv class might feel a little intimidating, going, okay, I'm not sure what to expect, but it's a good skills to learn, to be able to work kind of off the cuff and when things change up. So yeah, that's what I think. That's why people mention it a lot. So to get yourself ahead of the rest of the actors out there, those of you who are starting off, let's recap here before we let Aaron go. So number one, start practicing self tapes. You could even do that today. You could start setting up your iPhones and your cameras, and practice that. Number two, get onto those sites that we mentioned earlier. And you could rewatch this if you need to after it's done. After we're done here today, it'll post so you guys can go back and take notes, write down things. But get those accounts set up. And then number three, look into taking some improv classes. And I think if somebody does that, if they're sitting, let's say, in the middle of a small town somewhere and they start doing those things, that's going to put you ahead of probably most people in your area just by those things alone that we mentioned today. So,
yeah.
Well, Eric, I appreciate your time. Thank you for jumping on so early on a Saturday morning, and those of you in Australia on a Sunday, right? But enjoy your holiday weekend, enjoy your Easter, and any big plans this weekend?
Nothing too much, man. Just relaxing. Gonna be next weekend going out to Stagecoach for the weekend. So just keeping
nice.
Keeping it chill this weekend. Yeah. So
very cool. Who's the headliner at Stagecoach? Do you know?
Yeah, they have a few. It's let me see. Actually, it's so I'm not a big country fan. My girlfriend is. So.
But she's dragging you along.
Jelly Roll is one of the nights.
Okay.
Some of the, but what's cool is they've really kind of started diversifying it. So, we went last year and there was like the Beach Boys, Nickelback. They even have they had like a separate stage tent that they had before, and like Wiz Khalifa performed one of the nights. Okay. So it's like they're diversifying. But
so it's not just country.
Yeah, the main headliners: Zach Bryan, Jelly Roll, and Luke Combs, and then a ton of the other Lana Del Rey, Nelly. Sammy Hagar, and then some of the late night stuff. They have like T-Pain, Creed, Backstreet Boys, Goo Goo Dolls. Nice. So they're diversifying. So it's becoming, more fun for people who aren't just country fans.
Right.
And stuff.
That's awesome. Well, very cool. We'll have fun with that. I'm jealous now. Now, if somebody's watching this and they want to reach out to you, they want to, maybe get a resume in front of you. What's the best way to do that? I have your Instagram account. I've been showing that here is at the bottom of the screen.
Oh, that's actually not my Instagram though.
Oh, it's not. Okay. Sorry. Gerard was supposed to load that up for me. Is that not yours?
It's no. Jerry, come on, bud. We follow.
I was just clicking on it. I was assuming that he had already done that for me. So.
My handle is just my first name and last name, and then my hometown area code, which is 760. So
okay, I'm gonna put that up right now. So
Jared's Aaron Sachs 760. And then also just my email is aaron@mgmtartists.com.
Okay, aaron@mgmartists.com.
Oh, MGMT, sorry.
mgmtartists.com. Okay, so
yeah, artist with an S.
And so they can send you an email and reach out and say that they saw you online. And
if you just say, if you put in the subject line is from, is it through Next or is it something different?
So Made Management Official is the YouTube channel. So if they're watching it,
if you want to say through Made Management, session or whatever, just so I know where it's coming from. Just because I do get a ton of emails every day, but that would be good if you can put that in the subject line so I know it's yours and I can check it out. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate your time. Now, if you reach out to him next weekend, he will not be available. He's going to be a stagecoach.
This is true, yeah. So, but yeah, all right, guys. Well, have a great weekend. Thanks so much.
We appreciate it, Aaron. Thanks for your time.
Me on, Jerry. Always a pleasure chatting with you. And yeah, all you guys keep up all the hard work. Absolutely. All right, take care.
Thank you. Have a good day.